When you hear the word idiots, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
Like dumb.
You.
Idiots were the people who didn't vote or take part in public life. Millions of Americans do not take action to vote, but there's also those Americans who call idiots or have one or more reasons they can't vote. The major facts of non-voter problems in American elections. Right here. For 2004, as you can see, the election in 2004 was estimated to 215.7 million persons of age in the United States. Only some 122.3 million, right here, of them, but only 56.7% actually voted. Nearly 75 million persons who might have voted didn't. In 2004, some 114 million voters were cast in elections held across the county to fill the 435 seats in the House of Representatives. That means only 53% of the electors voted in this congressional elections.
So what do you notice is this is an interesting trend which is still actually going beyond 2004, and I can speak to this because this is recent history. When in 2008, when Senator John McCain ran against President Obama, and then again in 2012 when President Obama ran against Governor Romney, and if you take in those in-between 2 years, you can see in the off-presidential elections, what is the turnout compared to presidential election cycles?
The votes cast for U.S. representatives compared to the ones cast for presidents?
Well, yeah, what I mean, every 4 years there's an election for president. What do you notice about those years compared to the off-presidential election years in terms of turnout?
More people vote.
When?
More people vote
During
for presidential elections.
Why is that?
Because it's more important.
Because it's the person that runs the whole.
Like people feel like
So that's important.
that person has so much like power that they feel like it will like affect them more.
But that's Article 2, that's not Article 1. Article 1 deals with the legislative branch.
Well, I know, but like it's just that like they were talking about like how some people don't think like their vote will like matter, but some maybe they feel like their vote will matter when they vote for president because that's like a bigger thing. Like,
Bigger than what?
bigger than other positions.
Bigger than the legislative branch?
And other people's eyes, yeah.
People who are not schooled in the Constitution?
Yes.
The non-voting voters are limited to federal elections and more common in states than local elections. Farther down the ballot an office is, the fewer the number of the votes that will be cast for it. This phenomenon is sometimes called ballot
Fatigue.
This expression suggests that many voters their patience and or their knowledge as they work their way down the ballot. An example is that more voters regularly cast presidential elections than governmental elections. More votes are generally cast for the governorship than for the statewide offices, lieutenant governor or secretary of state. In counties, voters vote in races for statewide office, that county office as sheriff, county clerk, or district attorney, and so on. Oh, why people don't vote? It could be laziness or excuses. Cannot voters. The non-voters could also be identified as cannot voters. 95 million people who didn't vote, at least 10 million were resident aliens. 5 out of 6 were ill or physically disabled. 2 or 3 million traveled suddenly or unexpected. Is a cannot voters group that have a sum of 500,000 people in the mental health care facilities or legal residential for mental conditions. Other reasons why they don't vote is for being in prison or jail or for their religious belief.
Are you saying that people of a certain religion can be kept from voting based off their religious preferences?
No, they choose not to vote.
Oh, okay.
Billions of Americans don't vote. In 2004, 8 million didn't vote. Many reasons why they don't vote are trust issues, meaningless, or things or problems will never change.
Trust with who?
With like the government.
The president.
Meaning that they're afraid that if they vote, that somehow that's going to get them in trouble? Is that what you mean?
Well, they're afraid like
Like,
all the
they're
things
gonna
that they
get
say
lied to.
just to win, they're gonna be lying and won't do what they promised the people.
Okay, so they don't believe the people are the issues, so that's why they're not convinced
Yeah.
to vote?
They just say that just to like get votes and stuff like that.
Another reasons are long lines in convention registration, bad weather, long ballots, long lines in polling places, or because of time zones. Presidential election polls in states in the eastern and central time zones are closed before polls in state in the mountain and Pacific time zones.
And what one of the things, I don't know, I can't remember if I mentioned it here in this section, what are more and more people doing in order to cast their vote nowadays?
Online?
Wait.
No, we don't.
What are more and more voters doing nowadays in order to cast their vote?
Register?
Okay, oh yeah, you have to register in order to vote, but I mean, once you're registered, what are more and more people doing nowadays?
Like, how do they choose? Like,
How do they get their vote in, make it effective?
Is it like mail-in?
Yes, to mail in. Yeah, a lot of people prefer just to do it in their home, sit down with their loved ones, fill it out, drop it in the mail, and it's done.
Wow.
It's way better.
Well, and also, especially since the war on terror, we've had a lot of military personnel who've been overseas who rely on the mail-in method in order to get their vote counted as well. So.
That's how you don't mess with the mail. You mess with the mail, you mess with the government.
That's right.
Today, voters and non-voters. There is many differences between voters and non-voters. Voters are or were active in their community, higher levels of income, education, and occupational status. They are or can be long-time residents. Voting is an important fact. Non-voters are likely younger than age 35, unmarried, and unskilled. They most likely live in the South. Women are more likely to vote than men. And people with high sense of political efficacy are likely to vote no matter their income, education, age, race, and so on.
I'm just curious, since two women are presenting today, why do you think it is that women have a higher proclivity for voting than men?
men don't really care.
Yeah, what he said, like, I don't know. I see like some guys, not saying all, as I look at it, they really don't care. And for women, they want to get their way sometimes. Like,
Women stay home all day.
Yeah.
We're gonna I was gonna. Okay.
I feel
Fa hates
because women haven't always had their vote, so like they appreciate it more.
But why did they say that?
Not that
They
maybe
must.
Maybe that they're fighting for more stuff. Like men already have all these privileges and whatnot, and the women feel that they don't have everything.
Yeah, that's
So
what the
then
men. That's what the men don't care.
It's like women still don't have like complete equality, even though they say we do. Because if you look at statistics, even though like laws say that women have to be paid the same for the same job, a lot of times they're not paid the same for the same job.
Yeah, they get
Because
paid more.
like they don't work as well enough or whatever.
So you're saying that Miss Crawford and I, if we were,
In some places, Mr.
are you saying if I'm just
Name
taking an example here. Are you saying that if we had worked here the same amount of time, that we wouldn't be paid the same?
I said some places. It depends on the place. Because I was watching a video of feminists who were talking about it. How if you go like maybe like from one job to another, they might be offered differently, and they would never even like
So
find
could you
out.
give an example of a profession where you know that men and women are paid differently for the same job?
No, I can't give you an example because I saw it in the video, but they didn't tell me a
Surgeons?
specific place.
So a hospital would say, "You're a man, so I'm going to pay you more than I would a female surgeon."
No, mister, I'm saying that.
Soccer.
I'm saying that that's what the video told me that some places like you'll still have the same job.
Can't always
but,
rely
like,
on those stuff.
No.
Or like maybe because like
Customer's
for
always
women,
right.
there's like a lot more issues that are still relevant. Like for instance, like you know how there was like that problem with like women getting raped in like the armed forces by like their superiors, and like that was like a couple years ago, I think, right?
You thought it was called Tailhook? I think it was the
How
conference
long
of
ago was
Tailhook.
it?
It was a couple years, right?
Yeah, it was a naval scandal. It was called. They had a conference called something Hook. That's all I remember. And it was blown wide open that a couple of senior officers had taken advantage of female officers.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like women would care more about that than like most men would, like on average, I think. And so like things like that like cause women to want to vote more, I think.
Men to vote for? Or
No,
women.
women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Women.
So let's do an informal sample here. How many of you males that are either 18 or will be 18 plan on voting once you're?
I plan on voting, but
I got 3. Okay, how about you women? How many of you when you're 18 or will be 18
Oh,
plan
women.
on
To be
voting?
honest, I don't think I will.
I like girls.
Obama's gonna win again.
I don't think I
We're
will.
about 50-50 here, all right.
What if it's like that saying like anything the men can do, the women can do better. So like they probably think that more integration.
Oh no, it's only 2.
When it comes to
Huh?
valley, like maybe
Like
they do
two-
go
like
out there and
another-
change
yeah.
something better than
So you play.
Like
Nah.
what they do.
The worst
can
gonna end
affect
anyways.
it more, yeah.
So you're saying women have a higher sense of political efficacy
Obamacare.
than men?
Save lives.
How about historically, when you look at the ASB here at LeGrand High School, is there a higher level of participation on the part of
No.
women or on the part of men?
Men.
Women.
Women. Yeah, women.
You
Yeah.
know that for sure?
By the way.
Yeah.
Sport-wise,
Just
women.
look
I
at
mean,
the
men,
sophomore
and then
officer
club,
class.
like,
They're all
women.
women.
Oh, because
No,
my
but what do you mean?
doesn't like boys,
Participation,
so-
like the officers?
That's
She don't like guys. Yeah, she don't like it.
about-
Not
Yeah,
fair.
Danny.
Are you
I remember
joking
I
or
remember she
serious?
didn't even let try to let
She didn't
Victor
let the
get in there.
guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
Victor was
Like
trying to
that.
get in, but they're like, no, they can't.
We can't even go to her office.
Like last year when her office is in the locker room, the girls' locker room.
We could get in
Still though,
through
dude,
the
when it's
window.
empty, we can't even get in there.
Through the window. The gym
Conspiracy in the grand window.
I feel like there's
Have a chair right there.
Is standing right there for meetings.
The window open.
Standing on the chair for meetings, just right there outside the window.
Voters and voting behavior. Voting has been studied more closely than any other form of political participation in the United States.
Why?
Yeah, why?
What'd you say?
Ooh.
It's an important subject.
¿Por qué?
That's how it's supposed to work. People are
Yeah,
supposed
but why study the behavior of voters and that kind of
So
thing?
that
Why-
they could get more people to vote.
So like the parties, they could appeal to the most voters.
Oh, so if the Democratic Party saw a large segment of the population as what they call soccer moms, is there no, it's a legitimate.
If you vote for us, we'll bring Messi to the MLS.
In fact, back when Bill Clinton was running for the president,
Football
he made the statement that his goal was to appeal to the soccer moms. These are the moms who work, they have their own profession, but they also want to be involved in their children's lives, so they drive them to things like soccer games. And he was able to, through a lot of this type of scientific polling and study, saying that these study groups that they'd done some samples with, said that he had ability through his charisma to appeal to these types of women. So he made a full court press to really get out the message to these quote-unquote soccer moms. And from then after, you've heard the term soccer mom. It's a specific group that politicians are trying to appeal to, because those are women who are empowered, who make their own salary. They also want to have a family. And so these are highly engaged
Women
voters.
who care.
Go for it.
Right.
Get a picture with Messi right here.
So you're saying that
Soccer mom kit.
Are you a soccer?
What is known about voting behavior comes from 3 sources: the result of particular election, the field of survey research, studies of political
Socialization.
Sociological and physiological factors affect the way people vote. The sociological factors affecting voters' behavior are really that many pieces of a voter's social and economic life. Those pieces are 2 broad kinds: a voter's personal characteristic like age, race, income, etc. A voter's group affiliation like family or co-workers and friends.
And again, what's the single?
Family.
Oh my word! I didn't even get the question. I didn't do the answer.
Family.
What?
Say no more. I know that.
What?
The psychological factors that influences a voter's behavior are a voter's perceptions of politics and the issues in an election. Voters in lower income brackets are more likely to be Democrats. Voters with higher incomes tend to be Republicans. Professional and business people and others with higher incomes tend to vote for Republican candidates. Manual workers and others in lower income groups usually vote for Democrats.
Why?
Democrats usually come off as trying to help those that are like kind of poor, and that's why most Republicans tend to be like by most. I don't want to sound like opinionated, but like most white people or older people that are like more in a higher level.
Oh, so he's bringing in another factor too. Joey's bringing in ethnicity. Is that another factor in contributing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a slide about it.
Oh, okay. See, that's Joey. He's always getting ahead.
Fuck.
Education. College graduates vote for Republicans in higher percentages than do high school graduates. And high school graduates vote Republican more often than they do those who just went to grade school. Gender and age. Women tend to favor Democrats by 5 through 10% margin. Men give the GOP the same margin. Studies show that men and women are more likely to vote differently when subjects like abortion, healthcare, social welfare matters, or military involvement are prominent in election. Younger voters have been more likely to be Democrats than Republicans. Older voters tend to find the GOP and its candidates more attractive.
Now that last
Why
one
is that?
begs-
Why is that?
the last one begs the question: why, when you're younger, or statistically, would younger folks vote for Democrats, and then as they age, as the groups age, then they transition more into a Republican?
Because younger
Well,
people
money.
are usually poor, and Democrats have usually almost had poor people, and Republicans have usually almost had elite
Money talks.
people.
What if the Republicans are trying to attack topics that are more likely to get the attention of the older people, and the Democrats are trying to do things that are going to catch the attention of the younger people?
So you say it's a marketing thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
marketing.
Propaganda.
propaganda?
Animal Farm.
Yeah, you never see like you almost never see commercials about like parties promoting themselves.
What?
do.
You
I
do?
don't. I don't.
Oh, you do. Look at election
Every
time.
day.
Election time.
Chito Smoke.
And especially the 501c3s, they go along with the elections. They put out big time
Maybe I
ads.
just watched the wrong channel.
No, she's not watching anything. She's just
Trust
high.
me,
Mira, vela.
they make the
She's just
point
high.
that voters and voting behavior
Sábado
was
gigante.
studied. There's a reason for that. Because if you get your candidate elected, that person makes policy, and that policy can either make or break your financial or social causes.
I don't know. The only commercial I've ever seen is
This is public
Obama's,
policy.
Like I approve of this.
So then you see them.
Oh, that's only one.
So, oh, yeah, you saw.
Oh my god.
Tiki so hard it goes to
Religious
Marcus.
and ethnic background. Protestants have most often preferred the Grand Old Party, while Catholics and Jews have been more likely to be Democrats. Moral issues like same-sex marriage and church attendance are a significant indicator of partisan preference. African Americans have tended to vote for Democrats for decades. They are the only group that has given the Democratic candidate a clear majority in presidential elections since 1952.
In fact, I think the last election they have always been, this amazing, this is statistically very significant because over 90% of blacks in this country typically vote Democrat. That is by far and away higher than any other group. I mean, that's statistically a phenomenal outlier.
Black power.
Even Obama.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
They see over
Oh, isn't there only been one black national committee chairperson in the Democrats, but there's never been a black person as a national committee chairperson in the Republican.
You haven't been following the new era of their history very well because the last Republican committee chair was black.
Oh, well,
That's why you have to what?
She got it from the video.
You gotta stay current.
She got that from the video.
it was in the book.
Oh.
You gotta stay current.
What
Your
year?
man
It's Chairman's
Every single song has a white version black. And it's like this in the black.
Until the 1930s, African Americans tended to vote Republican, but they moved away from the Abraham Lincoln Party with the coming of the New Deal. Latinos have tended to favor Democratic candidates.
with the exception of which Hispanic group?
Cuban Americans.
Very good.
Cuban.
Geography also has an impact on voter behavior. After the Civil War, the states of the old Confederacy consistently voted for the Democrats, and this is why the southeast quarter of the nation was known as the Solid South. The Solid South is now a thing of the past because Republican candidates have been increasingly successful in that region over the past 40 years. This can also be said about presidential elections and at the state and local levels as well. Historically, the states have supported the Republicans. Most consistently are Maine, Vermont in the Northeast, Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas in the Midwest. The size of communities can also have an effect on a voter's behavior. Democrats draw strength from the big cities of the North and East. Voters in small cities and rural areas are more likely to be Republicans.
Some people say one of the ways of looking at this is it's kind of like a sandwich. I know this is not exactly, but the U.S. is kind of like a sandwich. The coasts tend to be blue, which represents which political party?
Democrats.
Democrats. And the inside tends to be red, which is the Republicans. So, and that's not exact, but that's kind of. Huh? Well, you got the bread on the outside and the
Like the
Oh.
Oreo.
General Fong.
Family and other groups. Typically, the members of a family tend to vote in a similar way. 9 through 10 married people share the same partisan leaning. Two-third voters tend to follow the political attachment of their partner.
I got a question for you. What do you think it would be like to be in a marriage where you have very different political views?
Fights every
Why
day.
are you in a marriage?
Funny?
It's like red versus blue.
Maybe some fights?
No thing. Gunshots here and there.
Go for like Niners and
Gunshots here and there.
That'd be crazy.
Strangle them in the bathroom.
I will tell you, I grew up in a neighborhood where there were our neighbors 2 doors away. They were great folks. I mean, I used to go over to their house. They'd always give me treats and stuff. But when political season came around, my parents would just laugh all the time because you could hear them, you know,
It's gonna tear people up.
getting very vocal.
You son of a... Oh. That kind of... He's gonna tear people up.
He's smiling, isn't he? Yeah, that's cool smoke, right?
Friends
Yeah,
also
shake
have
your
an
ass, bro.
impact on the way people vote. People of similar socioeconomic backgrounds tend to associate with one another. To understand the way a person votes, you must also take into consideration a number of physiological factors such as the voter's
Physiological?
perception of political
You mean psychological
Yeah.
factors?
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
issues and elections. Party identification. The great number of Africans identify themselves with one party at an early time in their lives. Party identification is the single most significant and lasting predictor of how a person will vote. Oh. A person who is a Democratic or Republican will most likely for that party's candidates in and given election, which is known as a straight ticket voting.
In other words, you just punch the elephant and everything else below is Republican, or you punch the donkey and everything else below is Democrat. That's all you have to do.
I don't like it. I think it's pretty dumb.
Well, it used to be mostly that way. It's changed a lot over the past couple of decades, but in the old days, you were like a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat or a dyed-in-the-wool Republican.
We should all have a test where we like choose on the topics, but like have Republican and Democratic opinions of it, and then make them choose,
I like
and
it.
then see how really Democratic they are, or whatever.
Yeah. In fact, a couple of years ago, I had an activity where we examined platforms of parties, and I pulled they're called planks, and I pulled the planks out, and I said, okay, which party does this line up with? And we had kind of a little game activity, and
That's cool.
Sometimes you might agree with the other party, I don't know. That's
True.
what I feel.
it's true.
But they don't want to agree, so they'll vote for
They
Democrat.
don't want to be bipartisan.
When we saw like I went to go see like an actual debate between a Democrat and a Republican between abortion, and people had cards like on one side was green and the other side was red, and whenever one person would be coming very convincing, you switch to green side to say like they're convincing you, and when you were not convincing, you switch it to the red.
It's good.
Yeah. The Republican was very good. The Republican.
However,
We know
party
who the
identification has lost some of its impact in recent years, and the increase in split-ticket voting is an indicator. Another sign of this is that more people call themselves independent or having no party affiliation. The most important of these short-term factors are the candidates and the issues in the elections. The impression a candidate makes on the voters can have an impact in the way they choose to vote. Things like how a candidate projects himself, their personality, character, style, appearance, past records, abilities, and so on also have an effect on the voters. Issues can also have a great impact on voters and their behavior. That was it for section 4.